Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Titus and I like to talk about photography and business. So if you like those things, make sure to subscribe to the channel and thank you for being here. So today I want to talk about when it makes sense to shoot for free. I talk all the time on my social media about charging what you're worth and standing up for yourself as an artist. And I do think that it might give some people the wrong idea. I'm not saying that you should always charge and that there's never a time where it makes sense to shoot for free. You just have to be intentional and strategic about it. So we're going to talk about that today. So for the first scenario, it makes sense to shoot for free if you are starting out with photography, or if maybe you're an experienced photographer but you're moving into a new niche. Basically, anytime you don't have a strong portfolio of images that you can use to market to your clients, it makes sense to self-produce some shoots so that you can build that portfolio that you can then show your potential clients and bring them in. A few years ago, I wanted to start shooting for boutiques in my area, but I didn't really have the portfolio for it. I couldn't show them any kind of strong work that would make them want to hire me. So I had to hit up models in my town, and I created a portfolio through these free shoots where I would kind of practice, fashion poses and practice my editing and trying to get that like fashion editorial look down. And after a few dozen shoots, I finally had the courage to put together a portfolio and then approach local boutiques and say, hey, like this is my work, I'm interested in shooting for you. And I was able to land clients that way. Now I want to note, this is not something that you do just one time in your career. Anytime you're pivoting or you're making a change in your career, if you're going to be picking up a different niche, it makes sense for you to create your portfolio, to build your portfolio through these free shoots. So it's not a one-time thing, it's something that's ongoing, especially when it's like the slower season and you have time on your hands. You're able to put together these collaborations, and from that you'll create some really strong work. In the last year or two, I started moving more into the editorial and commercial world of photography, which is way different than the kind of stuff that I was shooting before, which is classified under retail photography. So in case you guys are curious, I made a video that explains the differences between retail and commercial photography. So if you guys aren't clear about those two worlds, I definitely recommend that you watch that video. But yeah, I've been trying to land more editorial and commercial clients, so I am still doing the occasional free shoot so that I can build my portfolio and then market that to my prospective clients. So let's talk about the second reason it makes sense to shoot for free, and that is when you're trying to experiment with new techniques and basically just be creative. Recently, I put together a free shoot with my friend Hannah, who is an amazing model, and I wanted to experiment with constant lights, which is not something that I typically shoot with. I usually incorporate strobes if I'm going to be using artificial lights. But I had constant lights in the studio that I was shooting in, and I had access to a couple of gels, so I was making really cool magenta toned and like yellow toned portraits. And I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, but it was still really cool to kind of experiment without the pressure of having to deliver to the client. I didn't have to have a specific storyboard or a specific shot list that I had to achieve. It was really a free flow sort of, let's just see what looks good. And from there, I could kind of learn and, kind of go off the cuff and see what happened. To me, it's really important to do these kinds of free shoots where you're experimenting with your creativity, because it's the rawest form of creativity. There's no boundaries. You're able to explore. You're not afraid of anything. I mean, granted, you have to go into it basically telling the model, like, I might not get any great shots, but we're gonna have fun. And if you go into it like that, I think usually you will walk away with some really great images because you're not putting that undue expectation on yourself. When you do these free shoots, these collaborations with models that you put together, I think there's something about it that really shines through. When you're in charge of the vision and the execution, something about that passion really shines through the final product. And that is what clients actually love. I think it's not about trying to create something that we think the client is gonna go after, although that's also valid. But I do think that when we're just sort of going crazy with the creative concepts and really just like, I'm not trying to please anybody, I want to create what looks really cool to me, that is what's going to speak to people out there. I feel like a lot of the leads that I've got over the years, a lot of the clients that have contacted me wanting to hire me for projects, They did so because of the personal projects that I shoot, not the commission projects. Like when I talk to them about what they're looking for, they'll point to a series of photos that I took, that was totally of my own doing. It wasn't client work. It was, getting a couple of guy friends and going to the basketball court and having them, sit on the basketball goal or kind of just like pose with really cool clothing and jackets. And that's the kind of stuff that speaks to people. Okay, so you guys know the two scenarios where it makes sense to shoot for free now. Now I want to cover some best practices when it comes to doing these free shoots. Number one is to think of these free shoots as an opportunity to practice your craft and strengthen your portfolio. So whenever you decide to shoot for free, think about how it's going to serve as a stepping stone to get to a further place in your career. There shouldn't be just, oh, I'm just gonna shoot for free just because. If you don't have a good reason to shoot for free, you probably shouldn't be shooting for free. Number two is treat the shoot as if it was a paid assignment. Even though you're not getting paid, you still want to be professional with the client. It's important that you establish clear expectations with your client before the shoot. So I recommend sending them a contract. Even though it's a free shoot, send the contract and cover everything. Talk about how many images they're gonna get, talk about the rough timeline of how you're gonna deliver them or when you're gonna deliver them, and also make sure to cover the usage of those images. If you're doing free shoots, I would limit it so that they're not able to use them for advertising purposes in perpetuity. I would definitely try to keep it to maybe just social media or website collateral. And that way, if they do decide they want to use the images for additional usage, they can come to you and you can negotiate something. Number three, and this is a big one, is I would show the full value of the shoot that you're producing for them on the invoice that you send them. So yes, you will be sending an invoice to people that you're doing free shoots for. It doesn't mean that they're gonna be paying you anything. The invoice is gonna be a $0 balance, but at the very top, maybe it's a line item, you can have a strike through, but you'll have your regular rate there so they can see how much that shoot would have cost if it wasn't something that was a collaboration. This is called price anchoring, and it's very important because one, it shows them that, hey, this is not something I usually do for free, man. And two, if they decide they want to hire you in the future, they know how much they can expect to pay. By showing your prices to your client, you're giving them context. You're letting them know what all goes into the shoot. You might have different line items of assistance and grip and insurance and all the things required to make the shoot go well. And you're still saying, hey, I'm doing this as a collaboration, it's free, but they'll have a greater appreciation for everything that goes into the shoot and that you're doing it for them for free. So the moral of the story and the moral of this video is that if you're trying to run a photography business, you have to be selective with your time and your talent. Don't make the mistake of convincing yourself that every shoot that you do is building your portfolio. And don't let people convince you to work for free for them with the promise of future work. If you're gonna be shooting for free, make sure there's a good reason to do so and it's on your terms. That's it for me, guys. If you liked the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.